Welcome home, Cojourners. I'm glad you're here for another episode. I'm Dr.Thema, licensed psychologist, ordained minister, and sacred artist. And I am so excited to introduce to you today one of my dear friends, Brittney Moses, who is a liberatory thinker, meaning maker, and compassionate voice giver. I just had to give another ER to it. Exploring the intersection of psychology, identity, and culture with a deep reverence for human complexity. She holds a bachelor's in psychology from UCLA and a master's in clinical psychology from Pepperdine University. Go Waves. We're both dancers as well, if you have not picked it up. For the past decade, Brittney has contributed to the community and online space through writing, content, and public dialogue, sharing not only psychology and insight, but also a deeply human and relatable approach, with room for both humor and honesty. Her lens is narrative, humanistic, existential, and liberation-oriented, and her values are rooted in compassion, curiosity, and inclusivity. She's a proud Los Angeles native, a lifelong theater kid at heart, I love this, wife to Jason, who is amazing, mom to her teenage son, Austin, who's also amazing, and proud human of her pup, Lily. And I could say amazing as well. I've seen the pictures.
Today's her birthday.
Oh,
she's having a pup party.
Very nice. Very nice. In a world that feels increasingly disconnected, Brittney is committed to creating spaces that help us slow down, return to ourselves, and find one another again. Welcome.
Thank you for that.
Oh, I was sharing with you that just reading this really moved my heart because I know it represents a transition of you coming home to yourself, that your prior bio represented your former self. And you have grown in incredible ways, expanded and deepened in a number of ways, which to witness you, it feels free. And so when I read the first line and it said liberatory thinker, I'm like, yes, you're embodying that. So welcome home.
Thank you.
Welcome home. Welcome home. And how does it feel to be more at home in your new self, your current self?
It just feels so good. Yeah, and I appreciate you because you've gotten to see my journey and you've been there when I've been mentally just trying to sort out my position, my voice, and everything as certain things are falling away and new things are falling into place. And so while that journey will continue, it does feel good to be homecoming. Like, could not be more fitting to be on the homecoming podcast.
Right. I love that. And, you know, without all of the details, but, you know, part of we talked about can get you stuck is other people's expectations. So people get used to the version of us that we are at the time.
Right.
And so then when you're shifting, you know, for some people that's uncomfortable because it's like they have you in a box and they're like, that was you. Or no, that is you. So like, how dare you switch it up? So it is courageous to say, even if you're disappointed or confused, I have to operate in truth.
And I know who I am. And especially you add the layer of being a public person online, which for me, I started online when I was like 21 years old. And I was heavy on the keys. Like, you know, I was posting all the time. I put out so much content in my early 20s. And, you know, now I'm in my mid 30s. And so as I would imagine, hopefully for anyone, you're changing from your early 20s to your 30s and on. But, you know, a lot of people have followed me for the past 10 years. So making that public shift has been really interesting because maybe I'm not who people expected me to be 10 years ago. And giving myself permission.
Yes, to be able to do it.
Do that.
You know, one of the things we had said is, even if some people turn away, then new people show up who want to embrace the new you. So I love that for you.
Yeah. That's what I've seen, is that you kind of come into contact with people who are on a similar journey.
Right.
And that's really nice.
Yeah. Live in truth and the kindred spirits will show up. Well, we usually start with a poem, and I'm going to read an excerpt from a piece by Wendy Thompson Taiwu, and it's called Generational Trauma. After carrying the weight of all this damage for over 30 years, I wanted to be rid of it. And not just the smell of it, all of it. To remove it from my body like a malignant growth or parasite. To deposit it into something, a jar, a forgotten account, someone else's body. To throw the shame away into the trash, into the ocean, into a fire. To archive the pain like slave schedules or census records that no longer spoke of my existence. This poem is a scar that reveals the onceness of a wound, a curated show in which joy, bitterness, and unknown patrons attend. It is an elegy to mourn the parts that were shamefully discarded, like scraps, and a song to celebrate the vibrant parts that still remain. It is unsolicited advice stuffed back into the throat. It is a how-to book misplaced on the shelf. It is an old family map passed down from great-grandmother to grandmother. I hope my children read it. I hope they see themselves reflected in the fine print. I hope they know it's not their fault.
Ooh.
Yeah. So as the theater kid, what stood out to you from that?
Oh man, that's incredibly timely. I feel that in my soul right now, because that's the work that I'm in.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that does happen as you get older. You're like, okay, wait, what is the context that I was brought into?
Right.
And what are the narratives that I inherited that I didn't choose, but that just became a part of what I thought I should be doing, who I thought I should be, how I should be behaving, all of those things. Yeah. Specifically the line that said from great-grandmother to grandmother. Because recently it was my mom's birthday and we took her out to lunch with some family. Nice. And I was just at the table asking my aunt, my cousins, just kind of questions. Like, I want to know more about my great-grandmother, my grandmother, what are their stories? And I just learned new layers of their pain and what they had to endure in ways that they were not emotionally safe, physically safe. That helped make a lot of sense of why the present women in our family shut down and intellectualize our emotions. So that's been a part of my journey right now, is how have I learned how to heal, be vulnerable, be with emotions, and what are the scripts that were handed down to me so that I can actually embody what I want to be in the world.
Yes.
You know, so that was like, ooh,
right.
That's right literally where I'm at.
Yeah. And it's so powerful that some of these stories you're just getting in your mid-30s, right? Because we're living in it, we're affected by it, but sometimes it hasn't been articulated. Right. Right? But it's guided their parenting, it's guided the advice they give, you know, it's guided everything, the way they hold themselves. And so, you know, when we think of homecoming and the things that disconnect us, sometimes it is these intergenerational wounds, these kind of inherited scripts. So can you share what were some of those wounds or scripts and how they affected you?
It's really interesting coming to realize that, oh, I'm living out scripts that aren't even my story. You know, like this is my great-grandmother's story, but it's been passed down. And so now I'm operating out of a story that's not even mine. That's not even my context. Right. So for my great-grandmother, and I'll just give a warning that there are themes of abuse. I learned that, you know, she was in an abusive, alcoholic marriage where there were weapons used on her, threatening her in drunken fits, you know, to for her to get in line and this and that. And learning about my grandmother going through situations where she was kind of pulled away from her mother early on and didn't really have a motherly figure and had to survive in other ways. And then having my mom, who is raised with 2 generations of women who had to kind of emotionally cut themselves off in order to survive their experience and their environment. And so that was interesting because my mom and I were having conversations of like, I noticed that we don't cry, you know, in front of each other. And
even not only with strangers, but even with each other.
Yeah. And like, what is that? And what does it mean to us to be emotionally vulnerable with each other? Mostly because I've always received love from a lot of the women in my family by what they do for you, by acts of service. And that's how you know they love you.
Right.
And so I just thought that was interesting. It was like, okay, may not say I love you or be super affectionate and this and that, but I know that this person loves me because they're there for me. They provide for me.
Did you know that was unique, or did you feel like you were missing something, or did you see other people with their moms or grandmothers?
I didn't think I was missing anything.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Because you're like, I knew I was loved. I felt
Absolutely.
loved. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But what was interesting for me is that my dad is the more emotional one. He's like the emotional, affectionate, come here, sweetheart, baby, you know, one. And so I'm like, that's really interesting. I have 2 parents who I feel both extremely loved by in different ways. But they express it differently. But as a woman, I've taken more from the female lineage, those scripts. And so I've just been exploring those, especially as I've become a mom and a wife. And then I see these scripts playing out in my own family. And then I'm starting to get curious about, okay, like, wait, what kind of mom do I want to be? Like, what kind of wife do I want to be? So I do think there are life experiences, maybe developmentally with age, that kind of prompted some of these questions that made me want to look back.
Yes. Yeah. I love that, the consideration of even what we do with emotion and connecting that to safety. Because sometimes when people have like these ideals around womanhood, you know, often the ideal that's presented is like soft and, you know, affectionate and all these things. And then some women have come of age or lived through circumstances where they had to be a warrior, right? Like where they had to survive. And so, you know, to put someone in a context and then say, why aren't you doing this other thing, is, you know, what we often do is point at the person instead of the situation of like what created this. So I heard you saying like getting a curiosity, right? Instead of a judgment, a wonder of like, oh, I wonder how we landed here, right? I wonder how you landed here. And then you started off by saying, realizing some of what you're carrying is not yours or predates you.
Right.
And I think while for some people that might feel like, oh, that's heavy, I think the gift is what you're doing, which is now deciding, I don't have to carry it anymore. Or like I could choose, do I want to carry this? And, you know, in honor of them, or maybe it comes more easy to me because it's what I've had modeled. Or do I want to, you know, flip the script and write something new?
Right. And that's the empowering part. And I think what's been really interesting even further is I've been really into the study of epigenetics. You know, when thinking about generational trauma and how it's not just psychological and it's not just observed, but it's literally in our genes and how we are carrying some of these genes and how, for example, there may be a gene that makes you more sensitive to stressful environments. You have a higher cortisol response, you know, and how, you know, say my great grandmother was in an abusive situation where that turned on these hypervigilant genes. And if they're on and she gives birth to my grandmother, now my grandmother has that gene turned on. And it's basically saying, this is what I needed to survive my context, so I'm going to pass this on to you.
Yeah.
You know, and so the epigenetics part is really interesting about how we can inherit these genes where we are more sensitive to stress or anxiety or trauma. But then the cool part about epigenetics is that we can turn off that gene too by creating safe spaces for ourselves, by processing it, by healing it, and pass on basically a different genetic code to our child where they have a different start. And that's encouraging to me on the biological side, on the psychological side. I've been really looking at a lot of that.
Yes, I love that and I think it's important for us to know we're not stuck. Right? Because sometimes this was the script I was handed and we're like, well, this is just how the women in our family are. And it's like, oh, that's how you have been, right? And there are reasons why. And that healing is possible, right? But that piece you said about safety, right? Is it safe enough for me to lay down the armor? Because sometimes we're not in a safe place and people are like, lay down your armor, right? Just relax. And it's like both the genetic piece and the environment are telling them stay guarded, right? So in terms of you revising the script, in your journey, learning about psychology as you did, what role, if any, did that play, whether educationally or in therapy? What has that been like as you rewrite your script?
I was looking back at my educational journey because I was updating my resume for this new chapter that I'm in. And I was like, oh, I've been studying psychology for 10 years. I was like, I've been studying this for 10 years. I've been really not just studying it, but what I love about psychology is it's a study that is immediately applicable. It's like you can immediately live it out. You can immediately observe it in your life. So I definitely think as I've been learning psychology, whether it's cognitive psychology, social psychology, cultural psychology, I've been looking at how these different ideologies play out in my life. So I think within my master's program, where I'm learning about all these different approaches, narrative, humanistic, existential, narrative really did stick with me in terms of, okay, what are the stories that we are living out that are not our stories, like I said earlier. And I'm the type of person that I will take that and I will run with it, like outside of class. So I literally went around my family and started asking about the stories and was like journaling it and putting it all into context, looking at the patterns and the themes, and then being able to go, oh, this makes our family dynamic, the way that we respond to stress, emotions, trauma, this makes complete sense given the stories that have been passed down. And then, of course, we can layer in being a Black woman and like the superwoman schema. We could layer in the fact that I was in a high control religious environment at some point, and there are ideologies about being a woman there. There's so many layers you can keep going into.
That we can get boxed into. Of like the scripts that people hand us.
So studying this, anything that I share online or written in story or speak on is work that I've just been doing all along. And that's why you feel passionate about it, right? Because you're like, I've been doing this work. It's been transformational for me. And I just want to share that for me a lot of times with other women, but just with the world.
I love that. And it is hopeful. One of the things with narrative therapy, I'll tell clients is sometimes we have become side characters in our own story. And, it's like if you hear some people talk, they have made the people who have hurt them the main character. Right? So it's like, my mother did this or my ex did this, but like they have become the center. And now everything I do is in reaction to their part of the story. And so what I love, say as a writer, as a poet, is to say, some people wrote on the pages of my life, but now I have the pen. And I'm writing my story. I'm not just like a byline to somebody else's story, right? And so I love the empowerment of that. And you mentioned, the religious constraints. And then I wonder if, from a different religious or a spiritual perspective, if that has been a part of your homecoming.
Yeah, it's so interesting because right when you were speaking, that's immediately where my head went. Because even the idea of holding the pen to my own story or writing my own story in my faith background would have been considered bad. Like that would have been considered almost blasphemous. Like how dare you think that you hold the pen? It's like God holding the pen. There's not this idea of co-creation even. It's just like you don't have any autonomy over your life. Your life doesn't belong to you. Like there's all of these narratives where it even took me work to get to a place of, oh no, I do have some autonomy in my life and I do get to co-create my life. And there is, divine evidence of who I'm meant to be and the things that are natural to me and whatnot. So even that part, even that.
Thank you for naming the various ways it shows up. Because then as you talk, what I'm mindful of is, this song, it's a Christian song that says, I give myself away so you can use me.
I know that.
It's like, give myself away, right? So everything is like not to be present. And so as you said, can there be divine? Can there be sacred in me showing up for my life? Right? Do I have to be invisible, voiceless, heartless, and just be used? Or can I be present?
That's a big part of my journey. And I think what shifted a lot is that embodiment piece. It's really just been like breaking down a lot of walls that I was raised with, a lot of boxes. I think that's been a big part of it, is just coming back into my body, especially in a world where I had narratives of your body doesn't belong to you, right? It belongs to God and your husband, but it doesn't belong to you.
Not to you. Not because
imagine what that does.
Right, what that does.
And that was a narrative that came up when I got
from that.
Exactly. And that was a narrative that came up for me when I got married. That I didn't expect to come up because I was pressured by roles that no one gave me. Like my husband was never like you have to show up like this, or this is what it means to be my wife.
Programming showed up.
It was my own internal scripts that came up. And, thankfully I have someone who is very just loving and safe and open-minded, and we could explore those together. But that has been that all of that has been a big part, is just, I want to say, moving from domination ideology to dwelling. That's been really big because, and a lot of this is unlearning some Western ideologies in alignment with faith, spiritual religion, where it's this, you dominate your body, you subdue it, you control it. Your body is a walking sin that needs to be hidden because it's responsible for every male response in the world. Right? So you need to dominate your body.
Explicitly said and indirectly said. Like you're a distraction. Right? You're the source of all bad.
So now I'm disembodied. And then domination even just over like the environment, nature, like we are supposed to be, kind of masters of this earth rather than caretakers, and that we are also nature. We go through the same cycles as nature. We are a part of the ecosystem. So that's what I would say is a lot of it's expanded to become something that is more embodied, that is more dwelling back in my body, also with all of what is natural around me. And it's just more whole. And that has been extremely healing,
I love that. The wholeness and the holiness of being at home within yourself, to like dwell, which we connect with home, right? To be at home. I love that. So we have not only the spirituality and the psychology. I know you're into gardening and into the arts. And so have those or other things been a part of your homecoming?
Absolutely. Well, the gardening is actually what reconnected me more like environmentally with like, oh, I'm a part of this whole and this is all very important. Like that's been really healing is going through kind of the life, death, rebirth process of nature. There's there's so many life lessons in the garden.
Right.
You get why Jesus used a lot of gardening
like,
parallels. You're like, there's so much there. So gardening has been freeing. Also, there's research about how even just touching soil is like good for your mental health, which is really cool. But the arts, because I was a musical theater girl and I had just a lot of personality, a lot of quirky friends. Yeah. Musical theater kids are, we're a little strange, but we're free. Yes. And so, I was always into the arts, whether it's like, painting art or acting art or singing, dancing. And then as I got older and I was thinking more practically about life and survival, having my son at 18 years old and I think being in spaces that rewarded conformity a little bit more. I noticed that parts of me really dropped off to conform not only ideologically, but like image-wise into the communities that I was in. And so kind of breaking out of that has been re-embracing the quirky, artsy, even just like bringing more color into my life. I'm wearing my blue eyeliner. I'm like, those little things make me happy,
and more free, not confined. And not regulated by other people, again, their expectations or their scripts. So as we think about your script, and not that you have to be boxed into a script, but where are you landing in terms of the kind of person or the woman that you desire to be or that you are?
I think that the first thing that comes to mind is I've just made an inner vow to myself not to mask anymore. I actually didn't realize how long I'd been masking in ways that you don't realize you're masking just to kind of fit into the environment. I think a lot of us have learned to scan the environment for how we can make everyone feel the most safest, the most comfortable around us, and we kind of lose ourselves. And so I'm definitely vulnerable to that. So even like coming on a podcast like this, it's like I promised myself I'm not going to mask. Like I'm going to be myself, like going into anything. That's the only way I can actually do anything sustainably.
Right. Yes, is to be
because
me.
masking is draining.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the woman I'm trying to be, is one who is practicing what I'm preaching. Like I speak a lot about women reclaiming themselves and their voice and their body and their narrative. And so that's the journey that I'm on, and also wanting to be an example of that as well. So people can look and say, okay, there's an example of someone who's also doing it. So I try to also be very like open about myself and my story as well.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. The being authentic, being unmasked, being yourself. And even as you said in the beginning, even as that self evolves, I give myself permission to change and shift and grow instead of being stuck. So as we start to wrap up, I want to ask you for someone who may be watching, multiple people who are watching, who are descendants of trauma. So parents, grandparents, maybe great-grandparents. And so they may feel very boxed in by that, stuck by that, not have close up any other example. What might you share with them to encourage the homecoming?
Yeah, I mean, I would practically recommend learning your story. Like literally there's, they talk about generations of narrative, how it starts off as like, this is how we choose to live, like survival wise. And then the next generation says, this is how it's always been done. And then the third generation says, this is reality. And so by time you get to a certain generation, you don't know why you're living that way, reacting that way, surviving that way. It's just your reality. And so I think going back and learning the stories, which it's like, I think about my 20s, you don't care about that stuff. You're just kind of living life. And then as you get older, you're taking steps back. And so I recommend taking that step back and really discovering, okay, what are the ways in which your family had to survive? What are the patterns? What are the themes? And how do you see that possibly showing up in your life? And how do you want to, as we say in narrative therapy, reauthor that story?
Yes.
You know, something that's cool is sometimes you can make a two-way table. And I kind of did this as I was evolving spiritually, is like, what are the things that I want to keep? And what are the things that I'm leaving? Because these don't fit.
Yes.
You know, these are harmful.
Right.
You know, doing things like that. And just really thinking about what are the shoulds? You know, what is it that is in my head is what I should be doing versus what I actually want to be doing, who I actually am, and doing it regularly because it's not a one-time thing, because there's so many narratives that are coming at you all the time about how you should show up, behave, respond, and really taking that space for yourself to say, okay, what is the pressure I'm feeling about how to show up, and how do I want to choose to show up in every situation? Yeah.
Oh, I love that so much. And I so appreciate you because you really embody homecoming. And it's so wonderful to see. I mean, in any place or location I see you, I encounter you as yourself. And I love that. It's
I can
so
say
freeing.
the same. I always say, whenever people are like, oh, Dr. Thema, what's she like? I'm like, she is what you see. I'm like, she is herself.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, she's one of the most genuine people I know.
I so appreciate you. I invite your soul to tell your heart, mind, body, and spirit, welcome home.